the game, cause see the boxing voice.
A lot of big things going on, and join me on the line right now. This man here will be fighting November 25th only on ESPN3, all the way from Miami, Florida. And, well, he's going to be taking a big step up here, fighting a former Cuban world champion, a man a lot of people say still has some fight left in him. But this man here is going to try to keep his undefeated record intact. I give you once again the pride and joy of Oklahoma, the Cherokee citizen himself. I give you Wes Nofire. Wes, let's start off here with, all right, so ESPN3, Miami, Florida, you're taking on Yasmani Consuegra. What does he bring to the table? What's different about him than past opponents you faced?
More or less the skill set. You know, I fought some good opponents in the past, but none of them have had the depth, I think, of the amateur experience that I think Consuegra's had. And so I know that's going to be a little bit of something that's going to test me in the ring. So, you know, I'm anxious to see what he's got, and, you know, I'm sure we've got plenty of things in our arsenal that'll take care of it.
So far, he's lost twice. Second time around, we really couldn't tell much because he suffered a knee injury. It was a forced knee injury, but it was still a knee injury. We have seen him get knocked out early against Dominic Brazil, a guy who a little bit different from you, bigger, maybe more overall power because he's just a much bigger fellow. What do you take out of those fights? Do you take anything from either loss, or do you just chalk it up to, well, he took on guys who are much different styles than I have?
I take it as, you know, the guy, if you look at his record, they did a really good job at building him. They took him to another country, built his record up, and then whenever they decided that, okay, he had his amateur experience, now he had a little bit of professional experience, let's step him up against real heavyweights of some good caliber, and he didn't pan out. And so now he's going to take a step down, so to speak, because, you know, myself, I don't have quite the level of someone such as Arthur Spilka, who was the last fight, too. You know, Arthur had an extremely great amateur background. But I'm definitely a force to be reckoned with. So they're going to see where he's at, and I'm going to prove him that, you know, he just doesn't have it. He doesn't have that ability to fight with top tier heavyweights, and that's something that we'll prove once again, like the last two times.
Who have you been bringing in to sort of prepare you for Consuegra? As you said, it's a guy who he has a lot more experience. He's a guy who knows more tricks. He's been around the block. He's fought in a lot of different places. Who do you bring in for this camp to help you become, let's say, more knowledgeable about boxing, about all the traps, settings, you know, little things that you haven't learned yet that he knows just because of his vast experience?
You know, it has to do with what my training's been like in the past, not just for this camp, but in the past when I was training in Florida. You know, we sparred with other Cuban world fighters. You know, one of them was a heavyweight that fought on the Olympic team, and we learned some stuff against him. We've had other people such as Trevor Bryant, who's actually a better skilled fighter than Yasmani is, and we've learned different things from him. And then now we move forward, and I move on and start training down here in Houston for this fight here. So we've also incorporated some guys from around the Houston area that give us the same style that Yasmani will show us for the night of the fight. And just can't take credit away from Ronnie Shields that I'm training with now, and his ability to show me what shots someone such as Yasmani is going to be open to, and we're able to capitalize those things just on training.
Who's been so far the guy that you feel has helped you out the most in terms of training over the years? I mean, give me a couple guys that, you know, you sparred with that basically took you to school, you know, taught you a lot, and helped you grow as a fighter.
You know, probably a good friend of mine, Kevin Johnson, just because of the fact that, like myself, he didn't have a large amateur experience, so he had to come up the hard way, which is something I've had to do myself, which is prove myself in the gym. When you go spar with some of these guys, it's a real on fight. You know, it's a fight to prove to other people that you have what it takes. It's a fight to prove to trainers that you have the ability to earn their respect and earn their training privileges. So I learned a lot from him early on. Whenever I was a sparring partner before he fought with Tali Klitschko, I brought him back down to Florida. We stayed in really close contact with each other. As far as just a mindset, someone I can get in the ring and work hard with, and know that I'm facing, I'm sparring with a top tier guy. And then of course, my hat's off to Trevor Bryan too. Trevor just won a great fight. He had a tremendous amateur background experience. He was a national competitor for a long time as an amateur, and now he's proven himself as a pro. And me and him had plenty of time to spend together in the ring and learn from each other, and I've taken a lot of credit for both those guys.
How tough has it been for you to have to learn everything as you go along? As you mentioned before, you didn't come with a big amateur background. It's not like Trevor Bryan, who fought in the Gold Gloves, fought in the U.S. amateur rankings. He's had a lot of experience. It's basically you're learning on the fly. How tough is that to not just learn this, but get it adapted to muscle memory, to be able to do this in a fight as soon as you're learning it in the gym?
Well, you've got to make up time and a half. So you've got guys that's been boxing since they were 12, since they were 8 years old, and I didn't get into it until later on in my life. So I've had to spend twice as amount of time in the gym in order to build that muscle memory that they have already had in their ability from built from over years. So it takes someone with a lot of character to put that time in the gym. That's something that I've been able to do to catch up to where I am now, and that's why I've been able to remain undefeated, take steps up the right direction, and show people that it's nothing for me to take steps up.
All this is going on, as you mentioned before, and you're doing all this. How awkward does it feel, though, when you are doing these things in the beginning? Because as we mentioned before, you're learning on the fly. You're coming from a different sport. We've seen with both Gerald Washington and Dominic Breazeale, there's bumps in the road when they take on skilled boxers, guys who've been doing this for a long time, because, hell, they know what they're doing. For them, it's like secondhand. For you, you're still learning everything. How tough has it been to get it so that you can do it you're not thinking about it? You're not thinking, okay, he's doing this, I'm going to throw a jab. He's doing that, so I'm going to throw a left hook. How do you learn to do that with just a fluidity?
One is that you do have to have natural ability, and that's something that I've been blessed with, is been given the God gift of having the ability to do this. And the other is, like I said, work ethic. You just have to continuously do those things and be willing to try them. And once you're able to start seeing it happen, you have such a stronger confidence in yourself. So whenever you're told, do this shot instead, you can do it immediately on the fly. It doesn't take, like what some people would think, a lot of time to learn something new. Whenever you already have the ability to adapt to it, it's kind of like learning a new language. Once you get the dialect down, you can start speaking the language pretty quickly. That's kind of like with boxing. If you have the ability to pick up on it, start picking up on things, if you're willing to put the work in it, it's a double time effect. Everything just starts happening and triggers very quickly, and I've been really blessed to be able to have that kind of response.
Once again, it's Wesley Nofire show. I'm talking all things here boxing. We're talking all things training here. Once again, you're going to be fighting in Miami, Florida. Now, is this fight going to be part of a televised? Is it going to be part of the ESPN group or ESPN 3?
It'll be part of the ESPN group. I know for sure it's going to be on ESPN 3. There might be a chance that it switches over to ESPN. I don't know quite the details at this point, but that's the plan for right now.
What is that like? Because for years you've been doing this, you've been fighting in, smaller little venues, bingo halls, local casinos, local high school gyms, and it's probably tough because you're not making money. You're literally just working to improve. How much easier is it now when you have that guy behind you, have that group behind you that you're getting a payday? It's probably more than what you've made your last couple fights. It's definitely going to be on more televised eyes in your last couple fights. What is that like, having sort of security that you have people who can get things done and can get you some more money?
It's more of a proof of it is in the pudding kind of a thing. If I put the work in, I made what I had to, struggle, climb my way through different obstacles from not getting paid anything on fight, and that shows you that you have to have a lot of character to get to that point and now make it. It's not like being spoon-fed from the beginning of being pros. I know there's a lot of people that come from being as an amateur and they get spoon-fed. They get paid a lot of money for the first few fights, and they get spoiled. They don't train hard. They come into fights overweight, and that's something that I don't have to worry about because I put in all that work when I wasn't making any money. And so now someone's willing to step behind me and say, hey, you've got what it takes. It just gives me that much more of an edge whenever I do step up. One thing that isn't a big problem for me is fighting on TV. You know, I fought back home in my first few fights at our casino, my tribal casino that we have in Oklahoma. They had a promoter there that brought me on, and he did a great job promoting the event. We had it sold out. It was 3,000, 3,500 people that we'd fight in front of. So fighting in front of a crowd isn't anything new to me. In fact, it makes it better. It's more exciting. But definitely going through those struggles and now having someone behind me that believes in me it's just fantastic.
Is it more of a relief for you about having this power now? Or I know you said you're literally you're coming up the hard way. You're doing all this. It's not like you have a silver spoon, but I'm guessing right now there's more just less stress. You're not worrying about, will this check bounce? Will I have enough to be able to do a full camp and not have to work a side job or two jobs? Because let's face it, those guys who, as you said, are spoon-fed, they also have the perfect things. They have better training camps. They have the ability to just focus on being a fighter, not a fighter plus a construction worker or a security guard or a paralegal. They can just, all they have to worry about is just boxing. What is that like for you?
Right.
Just doing the same thing, worrying now just about boxing.
I mean, it's a great way to keep building that confidence in yourself. You still know where you came from, so you don't want to go back there. You don't want to have to go back and rely on those thoughts of, man, I need another job because I'm going to have to pay some bills. That thing is still in the back of your mind because you don't want to go back there. So that's more of a determination to not ever get comfortable whenever the situation is now just focusing on boxing. And I do, but I have it with such more of a tremendous focus than maybe most or others because they haven't come from the struggle. So that's still there and that still weighs on you because you get up every morning realizing that you have to give every single minute of that day devoted to your career. Because if you don't, there's someone behind you who might be willing to do that. So you can't take that for granted at all. But it's been very nice. It's nice to know that when I come to the gym, I don't have to worry and think about other things. I'm here just focusing 100% on doing the job that's at hand.
Again, it's Wes Nofire Show. As I mentioned before, he's getting ready for a big fight coming up. It's November 25th, only on ESPN3. It's in Miami, Florida. You're taking on Yosmani Consuega. And it's funny, we spoke with another Miami, Floridian fighter, Ahmed Abali. And one of the things he had mentioned to us was the difficulty training in Miami when you first get there because every day's a party. Every night is, the nightlife. Everything is just there. You want drinking, you can have drinking. You want women, you can have women. You want parties, you can have parties. So when you're training out there, how tough was it in the beginning just not going out into the nightlife and literally just getting lost in it?
For me, it was pretty easy because one is I took everything that I had financially, and me and my wife, she was my fiance at the time, we just invested it in everything that we had to go out there. So if we didn't make it, it was because of my fault, and that's the way I felt going out there. And so I knew I couldn't have those things being a distraction. So it wasn't difficult for me at all making the transition. It was more difficult making the transition down there to Florida with the aspect of being away from family and home just because of the way that I've grown up. I'm very close to my family and friends that I have and things that I like to do back home that I couldn't do in Florida. So it was very difficult being away from that for a long period of time and not being able to enjoy certain things about life just because you have to stay focused. But as far as the partying and that kind of going out lifestyle down there, I know it's tremendous. There's a lot of people that enjoy going down there and doing that. And that's what makes it almost kind of laughable to think that you're going to be fighting someone from that area because you know that's probably what they're doing on the weekend. You know that's something that's constantly tempting them. For me, I don't have to worry about that. But for them, that's something that else they have to deal with. And they bring that in on fight night. I'm able to capitalize that as well.
You mentioned before the fiance. How does she handle what you do? Because this is a very difficult sport for any spouse to handle. You are trained to go in there and beat people up. That's what your job is, to go out there and knock somebody out. Not just win a decision, to knock somebody out. So how tough is it literally going in for her to watch you sometimes, get in there, deliver a beating, take a beating, and then come back home and, we probably don't see sometimes you hobbling up the stairs because your ribs are sore, or because, you've been hit pretty hard, or because just a lot of things are, physically you went through hell in that fight. How does she handle all that?
It's just like anybody else that you love and care for. You don't want to see them get hurt, no matter what they're doing. But over the years and over the time, she's had a lot of faith in me and faith in my drive and my dream to go after it, and believed in me so much that it still worried her. But I started becoming very successful very quickly, and that just like built in confidence in my own career, it built confidence and her being able to watch me and be excited about when I fight. I mean, she's still so nervous because anything can happen in a fight, because after all, it is a fight. But she's just, she's my number one fan. She's the number one person I get my support from. And, I just couldn't do it without her.
Last two questions before I let you go. Once again, as you mentioned before, you're fighting. It's November 25th. It's going to be only in Hialeah, Florida, in ESPN3. It's you versus Yasmani Kosegara. PBC's got a whole lot more heavyweights. You now have Eddie Chambers. You have Prince Charles Martin. You have, of course, yourself, Deontay Wilder, Tony Thompson, Blake Scott. When all this is going through, how much does this help you knowing that if you win this fight, there's a chance for bigger? But you don't have to worry about some guy not fighting you because, well, your promoter and his promoter don't get along, or they can't agree on terms. You have a big stock shelf full of heavyweights who, a win over Eddie Chambers or a win over Deontay Wilder, that can get you a big money fight, and that can get you, dare I say, even a title shot.
It's exciting. The heavyweight division was in a downplay for a while in America. We had great heavyweights. It's just the fights weren't ever coming, so no one would ever pick them up on TV. And now you have someone who, with a bright mind and a brilliant business plan to be able to evolve boxing to where it is now. And I mean, we've got it back on NBC, on major networks, and it really is exciting. It's an exciting time to be a heavyweight because you do know you're putting in that work, and it's going to pay off. It's not just going to lead you down a dead end where maybe no one wants to touch you, just because you're a dangerous fighter and who you're promoted by. Now you don't have to worry about that. You can be a dangerous fighter and be worth more money, and just like it used to be. So it's very exciting to be a part of this.
Yasmani Kosegara versus Wesley Nofire. It's going to be November 25th. It's a big fight for you. As you said, it's a step-up fight. You've proven you can beat guys who are at the regional level. You've proven you can beat guys who are sort of, past their prime. This is a guy who maybe he's on the downhill of his career, but he's still dangerous. He still has 18 wins. He still is a guy that, if you're not much bigger than him, he can catch you. So for you to win impressively, and keep up the momentum to get a bigger fight down the road, what's the key to victory for you against Yasmani Kosegara?
It's just coming out there, bringing the game plan that we brought from the gym, and just nailing it to a T. Once we do that, we should have no problem in winning a very decisive victory without any questions of people wanting to know if I have the ability to make that step up. And that's just going to put us on the map, and that's going to put us in leaps and bounds forward on the next big fight.
There you have it. Once again, I give you, it is the pride and joy of Oklahoma, the Cherokee Nation. I give you, it's Wes Nofire. Wes, before I let you go, where can the fans check you out? Where is the Twitter page, Instagram, Facebook, the website? Where can the fans hit you up at?
We have NoFireBoxing.com. It leads you to my pages. We have a Facebook page. You can hit me up on Twitter at NoFireBoxing. And you can also follow me on Instagram at Wes Nofire. So appreciate all the fans. Appreciate you guys over there, what you guys do for us, and promoting boxing. Best.
Now we appreciate here also. We come back. It's a whole lot more once again.